Hello everyone, welcome to our Ashes of Creation live stream, our monthly live stream. Welcome.
Hi,
Thank you for joining us. As always, I'm with some wonderful people, and we have a whole slew of maybe new faces that you might not have seen before, or especially if you're new to the community. So first we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you can expect today, and go through some quick updates and all of that jazz. So first of all, talk a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I am Jeffrey Bard. I am the lead game designer on Ashes of Creation. I do lots of fun things every day.
Yeah.
I am Stephen Sharif. I'm the creative director on Ashes of Creation, and I do lots of things every day. Lots of fun things.
I also do fun things every day. You guys are funny. I'm Margaret Crone, and I'm your community and marketing lead here at Intrepid Studios, and I have the pleasure of working with a whole bunch of amazing, passionate people. And today we have a lot of really fun things to talk about. So first of all, I just want to kind of go over what you're going to expect here. So these are going to be our monthly game development updates to kind of give you an update on like what has been happening, what we've been working on, what each of the teams is excited to share with you all. And first of all, Stephen will go over a studio update. We'll talk about development from our engineering team. We actually have we've added that onto here.
Yeah, we've added
we have design, we have character art and environment, and then we also have a Q&A. So we did put out a Q&A submission this Monday, and we've compiled them all on Thursday, I think a little bit later, so that we could grab some extra ones that came in a little bit late. But Toast has been amazing. She's your community manager. Definitely give her some love. She compiled them all and made them very nice and pretty, and we'll be going over and answering all of those, as well as if you have any questions in the chat, plop them in there. She'll be feeding any of them that we haven't answered previously. over here, and then also she'll probably just be answering them in chat. So if you do have questions, feel free to plop them in there. So quick updates. We just released our Dev Diaries.
Yes.
It was covering animation with Brad Constantine, and if you saw our last live stream, or if you haven't, you should go watch it. Brad was actually on to represent our character art team, and he's just lovely.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy, really fun, really easy to work with.
Outside of work, he also does these really cute sketches. I don't know if you've seen them. They're
Caricatures
so
are
cute.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great caricature artist. As a matter of fact, some of our community members, we have a whiteboard upstairs for the character art team. He'll go over there and he'll just dry erase marker some caricatures of our community members.
Yeah.
I think you guys might have seen Crojack was in one of them.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I'm so excited. Yeah, he's awesome. And of course, we had Jeff on there because you guys work together really closely.
Yep, we're always talking. Me and I'm kind of the main liaison for the animation team, so we do a lot of work and a lot of iteration between the two of us.
Especially since you've been focusing on a lot of combat and abilities and
Right.
things of that sort recently. And of course, we also have the lore of the Felbeek Macaw. So if you did see, the Felbeek Macaw was one of our previous cosmetic items, and now it is created by the wonderful Jinsey. She's so amazing.
It has come to life.
It's more than come to life. It's a little horrifying. And the story was pretty awesome too, so we hope that you enjoyed that. Coming up, we will have a creative director's letter that you'll definitely want to read. That is not going to come out this month. That'll actually come out next month, earlier in the month, so do stay ready for that. That letter is also going to have some dates. So I know y'all have been waiting for some dates. It's not going to have every date that you've ever wanted, but it is going to have some dates that I think you all are going to think are exciting, and I hope you
I'm
enjoy that.
excited.
I'm excited.
And of course, we'll have the Divine Node article coming up as well, and a new rotation of cosmetics. So stay tuned for all of those things. And let's just get into the good stuff that y'all actually want to see. So we're actually going to say goodbye to Jeff. No, he'll be back.
Bye,
at the end.
everybody.
We're going to bring in over Mark, who comes from our engineering team. And I'll have him introduce himself because he's awesome.
Hello,
You may
everyone.
have seen him
Welcome,
in a
Mark.
tweet before because
Yes.
we took a group picture when we went to GDC.
We did?
Yeah.
That's right. And they were trying to figure out what my role was.
They
at the
said,
time.
Mark
what
is one
they,
of
they
our-
said you're a yoga instructor. Come on, switch this way.
Oh, you are a
Sure,
yoga
I will
instructor.
do that. Yes. I am a yoga instructor.
There you
yes.
go.
It's one
Also-
of
You
my
don't do yoga, but you do
72,000
other
jobs.
stuff.
I do.
Also one of our
I
Like,
do.
lead
do karate or
engineers.
something, or what
Yes,
is it?
I
Some
actually
martial
just
art.
recently got my black belt in mixed martial arts.
Ooh, you're like a.
Yeah.
We
So
need the
watch
animators
it,
to
right?
Watch
animate
it.
your
No new requirements.
kung fu stuff. That's awesome.
I'll mess you up.
It's okay.
He's
I
now
have
our
the production team members present the requirements.
Right,
He's
right.
now our
Through
security.
somebody.
No, I'm
Yes.
just kidding. Don't,
Yeah, so-
don't mess with us.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And
Yeah, so talk about what you do actually
well,
on Intrepid Studio.
as part of engineering, I do everything. I do all the art and programming and everything on
Yes.
the team. I build all the content and everything. Actually, I do none of that.
We do have some programmer art.
So
I've
Yes,
seen
well,
some of
I'm
those
very-
windows.
Very adept at making awesome stick figures.
Yes.
It's one of my 72,000 jobs.
So we wanted to add this segment in because we feel like engineering is a big part of what we do and what we create. They work a lot with our design team. They work with all of our other teams, even our animation. So it's kind of like this little piece that kind of like interacts with everything else. Or I said big piece.
I was
should
gonna say.
It's like the
It's a
core
little
that
big
like
piece.
interacts with everything else. And I think that we can't really exactly show you the programming and the coding of everything, but we can talk about it. So
Yes.
especially when it comes to systems, I think is one of the big things.
course.
So let's go over what your team has been up to, and then we'll get into the
Well,
little
first of
bits.
all, I just wanted to say that we have just a spectacular engineering team here. It's a great group of very hardworking and talented engineering professionals that have just built some amazing things since I've been here. And I look forward to coming to work every day and just tearing into things. And I really can't wait to see what we build every day we're here and what we're going to build next. So
Yeah,
it's been
we have a lot
it's
of
been
talent, a lot of
fantastic.
seniority
A lot of
among
seniority,
the current
yeah,
engineering team, which is great to have both from a foundational standpoint as we're building a giant MMORPGs. I think we have 3 former technical directors on our team
Yes.
from other AAA
Right, exactly.
titles that are
We only
MMORPGs.
hire the best.
And here's the thing: there's no butting heads or like major drama.
Well,
which I
no,
think
because
is,
awesome. These guys and gals have been through this process before,
Yes,
and
definitely.
the biggest camaraderie point I think, at least with Mark, you might agree, is that there's an opportunity here to do things right and do things in a way that represent kind of what the player base has wanted for a long time, and not to cut corners in that regard.
Yes.
And I think that's an exciting opportunity for anybody who likes to problem solve, which engineers tend to like to problem solve.
We have a
hope
very
so.
ambitious project,
Yes.
Yeah.
and we have very many challenges to accomplish, and it's great because the people who are on board just look forward to those challenges.
So let's get into a little bit of the things that you have been working on. I know you guys have been working on the Linux server containerization.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to go into more details.
Sure.
And maybe try to put it in layman's speak.
Well,
so
maybe to start off a little
understand.
bit, as part of the engineering team here, we have kind of two primary goals. One which is supporting the creative process. So bringing the Ashes of Creation universe to life requires a lot of tools and systems that we work on. And then we also need to support our player base. So we have a lot of systems and tools we need to support for that. So things specifically we've been working on lately is, as you said, we actually took a lot of our systems that were running on Windows and have moved them into containers on the cloud. So leveraging the power of the cloud. And we've been able to really improve performance, capacity, not only from a match-based play, but also from a persistent universe play. We've really been able to make changes to the back end that allow us to scale effectively, to manage our player base. We have a lot of challenges for the MMO, specifically on the networking side, being able to bring up a very large persistent universe and being able to scale that appropriately and having people do seamless travel where they're not just hitting one server. We're going to have many servers on the back end running, and being able to containerize them allows us to deploy them really quickly and scale them really quickly as the needs of our player base demands. As new designs come in, as new features come in, we're able to expand it very dynamically.
And that's very important for our project specifically, right? Because we're not a heavily instanced world. We're an open world, and players can move freely throughout that world and engage in large events with each other. And we need to make sure that our distributed services can scale to accommodate those players wherever they may move throughout the area.
Definitely. So that's a big component and a big core of our back-end technology. So a lot of the systems that we've been building for content creation have been surrounding those, and it's systems that we've been putting in place. We've been working also on weapons for siege battles and getting those in the game and playing around with those. It's been a lot of fun seeing those come to life and seeing them moving around and placing them and firing them and all that type of stuff has been really exciting to see the genesis of that. And a lot of these systems work in the MMO, they work across our products, and building those in a way that scales across instances and also across persistence worlds has been a really fun challenge. So we've really enjoyed that process.
And previously, and part of what engineering has been working towards with regards to Alpha 1, previously with Alpha 0, we only had one zone that we had Alpha 0 participants in.
Right.
And we had thousands of NPCs in that zone, and we had hundreds of players in that area. But right now, our goal towards moving in Alpha 1 is having multiple zones that are capable of being connected to that open world network and handshaking between each other so that players can move seamlessly through the
And
servers.
the interaction between the nodes and having them grow and at a bigger scale.
So our team has been working really hard on all of those fronts. So in addition to that, supporting players, working on our back-end systems, working on scalability, working on tools that not only support our awesome designers, artists, and animators, but also tools to support our player base has been a great challenge, and we've had a really great job.
What has been your favorite thing that you've gotten to work on so far?
I think in general, one of the really fun things to see come to life has been some of the destructibility things that have been coming into play. It's been
Bacon will agree with you.
Yeah.
He's over there making candy noises.
And we'll have more members of the team talking about these things. But you know, I really like blowing things up. So seeing those systems come into play has been really exciting. You know, from an engineering standpoint, putting in place things that scale really well and allow us to build just phenomenally large things has been really exciting for me. So that part has just really come into play in the last couple of months. Really seeing it really be able to handle this type of load has really been exciting.
And I mean, we know that we've come across a lot of challenges and things of that sort. What do you think was like the biggest challenge that we've had to face and overcome?
I think just the sheer number of possibilities of what we can build. I would say we have such an ambitious project here, and being able to distill down what we're building into the very essence and the very core systems that we need to build to support a huge array of features has been probably one of the biggest things that we've had to face, and it's a very exciting challenge. So I've really enjoyed that part of it, but it you know, definitely the features and everything that Steven and the team comes up with definitely pushes us to our limits.
Yeah,
but
we
we love it.
Everyone comes up with these ideas. They're like, oh, that's even better. And so we just keep, making something that's, I think every day, kind of the input of everybody collaborating makes just something, because we're all so passionate. And I think we've all been waiting for that next MMO that we want to live and breathe in and play.
Yes. Very exciting. So, yeah.
Do you have any other questions for, or if we had any in chat for our lovely Mark here?
That's right.
I will say, part of what the engineering team, helps to facilitate is not always as visible early on, because they're very foundational in the sense of giving design the tools to actually create these things in a visible way in engine and in game, and to make sure that these things are foundationally created in a way that supports the kind of scalability we want to see takes some time. And it's great that we were able to, back in December, get testing that illuminated some of the redesign and re-architecturing that we needed to do in order to accommodate the number of players that we wanted to do. Was very beneficial to have early on, because as you get deeper and deeper in these testing settings and you layer these different systems on top of each other, the later you find out issues, the more difficult it is to solve them.
Yes.
Yeah. We definitely don't want to go into the MMO learning those lessons then.
Right. Exactly.
We definitely want to, and the testing and everything we've done so far with our Apocalypse product has really given us the ability to test out some of these core systems, and it's really allowed us to move a lot of that uncertainty that we would have when we deploy and bring the MMO to life, or much earlier in the process.
Right.
So we don't want to be discovering those things at that point. We want to be discovering them much earlier, and it's been an invaluable tool to allow us to do that. So it's been great, and yes, building a lot of those core systems takes a lot of time, and a lot of people don't see what we're building under the covers.
Yeah.
And it's a ton of engineering effort that I am personally very excited about, but it's not always something we can put up nice videos.
Yeah, it's not
Some of
like
those things we
visual,
literally
yeah.
can't show.
No,
Actually.
For security purposes, we
Yeah.
don't
Right,
show them.
exactly.
Yes,
Even the
there's-
stuff that design works on, sometimes we don't really want to show
That's right.
that stuff for security purposes.
Yes, there's
but
definitely
yeah.
some things that I should not talk about that I'm very excited about, but I could go on and then Steve would say, no, all right, don't talk about that
Mark,
stuff
what
right
are you
now. Mark,
doing?
What are you doing? What are you
Steven's
doing?
saying no, then
Yes. So,
that's a whole nother thing.
so yeah, it's just, I would say in general, it's I'm very excited about what we're building here, and bringing the Ashes of Creation universe to life has been a dream of mine.
And I gotta say, everybody at the studios outside of the engineering team loves our engineering team to death, because oftentimes they're the guys who are staying late after hours because they need to fix something for a test that we have,
That's
or something that got broken and we didn't anticipate. And they're very hard workers, like the rest of the team here at Intrepid. But we have some pretty stellar guys on the engineering team,
We
and
do.
we are very
Our team
appreciative
is
of them.
great. Our team is really great. So.
Do you have anything, last things that you want to kind of share with the community before we swap to our next?
No, I don't think so. I think that's it for me right now. It's been great talking to you guys, and I look forward to the rest of the stream.
Yeah. Have a great day. I know you're going to be
Thanks,
working on a lot of stuff.
Yes, now I will get back to work.
And then we have our design team. We have a new face that you haven't seen before. We're not bringing Jeff back over here. We actually have Garrett. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about who you are, what you do on our
Hey,
team.
Garrett.
Hey,
How you
Steven.
doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
Good.
My name is Garrett Fern. I am a senior game designer. My main focus is on combat, but of course we wear lots of hats.
Yeah.
So I help out when needed, wherever I can. One of the areas I was most excited to work on was data analysis.
Yeah, which is something like you really do need. I think a lot of the times when you're making these decisions as a designer, you want to make sure that you have numbers to back them up. And I think watching, like for instance, like heat maps or things of that sort really do help a ton.
It's super helpful.
Yeah.
It helps us identify the weapons that are too powerful, the abilities that are too powerful, or the converse of that, right?
There
when
might
things
be
are not
some that
powerful
people
enough.
play tested in Apocalypse that were like, I got so many words.
I think one of the cool things, Garrett, about the purview of your tasks is that we're putting, oftentimes in MMORPGs, and I know you play MMOs, it is PvP feels like an afterthought. From a
Correct.
balance standpoint,
Correct.
it doesn't feel that it fits well into the world.
And I think sometimes they even separate them, right?
Right, absolutely,
Yeah.
and that's a way to accommodate the fact that they didn't spend the time necessary
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah.
But part of what Ashes of Creation is all about is that PvX dynamic, in the sense that these things are meant to be congruent with each other. They're meant to be coherent with
sure.
each other, right?
sure.
And a lot of your tasks setting up for Alpha 1 and the MMORPG is taking design data and logs that we have available from APOC testing and early testing and incorporating those types of balance decisions into the Alpha 1 preparation.
Absolutely true. And that's a really important thing, right? Is we've learned so much about action, melee, action, ranged combat as the result of APOC that will then immediately carry over into our designs for Ashes.
And I think a lot of people who have played those types of combat situations, you always see the situation where like melee just feels not as good sometimes as like the range, or
it can wind up feeling, and we certainly had this problem early on, which is why we went back and sort of revisited what your character is doing while you're engaged in a melee attack, right? It can feel very floaty. And so we've, I think, done a really good job of sort of taking a step back. I think early on we sort of thought about it from the MMO perspective first, which is why the attacks are very stationary.
Right.
And through the course of APOC, we realized that if we were going to accomplish this action combat style, we needed to adopt a different philosophy for, in particular, melee attacks.
Because we look at other MMOs and how they do things, and it's not the same as if we want this type of I think interesting hybrid combat that's different than from other combat.
Yeah, we set out to be different, and so we have to do different things to accomplish that.
Yeah, totally. So you have some things for us, which I'm really excited to show.
Yeah.
The first thing is, well, everyone likes explosions and destruction, so talk a little bit about
so
what we're
obviously,
going to watch.
Obviously, destruction is a huge part of both APOC and Ashes, and it should look good.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So our particle artist Jim has been working on making destruction of props in particular look amazing.
Right.
So here's what it looks like.
And the important thing, and we can talk over this.
Yeah, we can talk over
The
this.
important thing about this type of destruction and these effects that you're seeing is that not just in APOC where we want a completely destructible environment, but also in the MMORPG when it comes to dungeons and traversing certain areas. We want destruction to be a very core element of how players make their way through the world. And that's something that I haven't seen as prevalent outside of like castle sieges in an MMO. We want to kind of make the environment a little bit more lifelike in that sense.
Yep.
So what is this the 45-second one?
Yeah, it doesn't have the music, so he originally sent this over and it had this hilarious music going on. And
But then we wouldn't be able to talk about it.
Well, also copyright, but
yes,
imagine
that
that.
too.
Or I'm sure someone in the community will clip that and put it with some amazing music. But
So that's just kind of like shows you guys the range of destructibility that we want to see, not just in individual meshes, but also this kind of collection
Little pieces,
of vases and boxes and whatnot together. Again, this is going to be a big part of the MMO experience as well, is an interactable environment that is destructible.
yeah, especially when you think about like sieges and those type of things, or even
The big ones
attacking
to me is like
someone's
dungeons, like going through dungeons and having obstructions that are in the way that need to be destroyed. Those will play an element in actually traversing the dungeon. That's going to be a fun component.
Yeah,
I'd like to destroy all the pots and get all the gold.
Yeah. Particularly if there's like synergy with that environmental object and specific classes,
Exactly.
right?
Ooh, yeah, I like that. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that you wanted to show, and then you also have been working on a lot of abilities.
A lot of abilities, yeah. So we're gonna have a lot of classes in Ashes. I don't want to say a number because I've been told never to talk about specifics on stream.
No, they know. We have 64 classes. They know.
It's not coming out of my mouth.
He's afraid.
Because I don't want to get.
Garrett doesn't know all the things that we've revealed.
Oh,
yet.
I know.
So he's just like, I'm going to tread this minefield carefully.
I know they know. I just don't want this to be clipped.
Right.
And then we have to cut
Garrett
back.
said it.
And Garrett said the number.
Yes.
I almost slipped right there. Yeah. So the design team is kind of in two modes right now, right? Some of us are sort of like finishing up polish on APOC, and then another portion of the team is working on just prototyping abilities after abilities after abilities, because we know that we're going to need a huge pool to pull from. So the sooner we get started, the better.
Yeah.
And that's really what it boils down
Let's
to.
kind of like check these out, and you can walk us through what we're watching here.
Oh, what do we have here?
Yeah, so we got I think super. Oh no, this is the.
So this is an APOC. I think this is showing kind of the. Is this a projectile?
This is a projectile change. Basically, collision and players have different sphere checks.
Right.
So that when you're shooting a player that is sort of in line with this pillar, for example,
Oh, yeah,
the projectile will pass the pillar but hit the player.
Right. That's just kind of the greater finesse that we're giving projectiles between the collision.
Yeah,
And
and we're
here-
just showing the environment. We're just using this environment as example, but we could plop this into any
Yeah,
area.
This is a super jump, right?
This is super jump. So super jump it's a charged ability. The longer you charge it, the more it costs, and the higher and further you'll jump. And you can see there that you can actually redeploy the Griffin.
And this
if
is
you jump high enough.
an ability that we're playing with for the APOC modes, which will allow players a greater traversal. You know, the animation there is prototype, and the UI you see on screen to designate the charge ability is also prototype.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
still very much a prototype and an experiment that
They're kind
we
of
wanted
playing around
to
with new
experiment.
Stuff, right?
Yeah, we wanted to experiment with different types of world traversal, see how they feel, see how they impact gameplay.
Yeah. And I think especially when you think about an MMO and how large scale that is, you have to think about space and how far you're going to get
Yep.
fast.
Yep.
Not necessarily that you're going to be able to fly everywhere or anything like that sort.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking off the top of my head, like this could be a mechanic for a specific class, and maybe that's how they somehow aid their party or their raid group. Like they can jump up there, do something while the rest of the team stays, on the ground.
Yeah.
I definitely would be surprised if every class in the MMO could do this.
I would hope not.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I don't know if you want to talk about anything else that your team has been working on. I know you guys have an extensive amount of things that you have been doing and working on, and you actually got a couple new people to your team.
Yes, we got a couple
Yeah.
new people, Brian and Terrence, who have been kicking butt, for sure.
And JR.
And
Oh, and JR, right.
JR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all doing great work.
Yeah, and you'll get to see pictures of them, and they'll be up on our team page when we put out our creative directors letter, because they were hired in that quarter. So yeah. Thanks again.
Hopefully next time one of them will be up here.
Yeah. I don't think everyone wants to, but we're gonna try to get more faces out here.
I understand. When I first started doing this, it's a very nerve-wracking experience, but now that I've done it several times at my previous job, it's a little bit easier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, get
I remember the first time I sat in front of a camera like that. Like, I just
Froze.
I don't even know if it was froze. I just I couldn't get my heartbeat down.
Oh no.
And I'm just sitting there trembling. Although I gotta say,
I hope we make you feel comfortable.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel totally fine up here.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is I do want to confirm that we love our engineers.
Yes.
And also, Mark is definitely smarter than me because he went with the hoodie, and I went with the one layer polo shirt.
It gets cold.
It gets
I know,
cold in
yeah,
here.
That's why I have my sweater, because I'm
Hey, it feels good.
Steven, you like it really
Steven
cold.
I do like it very
so
cold.
cold. The rest of us are all like, ugh.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Garrett,
much for having me.
Thank you,
time.
Garrett.
And
Thank
I
you.
know that the community loves all the work that you all have been working on, and they can't wait to see more of it. So
Thank you.
Thank you for
We
sharing.
love and appreciate our community.
Yay.
And
Bye,
next
guys.
up, we are going to have the Baconator from our environment team. You all know.
Did you bring candy this time?
Yeah, bro. Where's the burger?
Did you? Yes.
I heard the candy wrappers.
We have candy.
I knew it.
Hello.
Welcome, Bacon.
Oh.
Bacon, I gotta tell you, I was watching. I was on Discord last night,
Uh-oh.
and I saw the picture that you posted of your previous band experience.
Yeah.
And I showed it to John, and both of us were just blown away. That was such an
I know, I got
awesome.
fat and
I had no idea you were part of a band.
What's up with that?
I knew you could play instruments, but I didn't know you were part of a band. Thank you.
There you go.
Last time I said I probably shouldn't have had a Jolly Rancher, but
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I'm
I'll
still
hold
kinda on
it.
my-
I'll postpone my Jolly Rancher eating for later.
I'm still kind of sick, so.
no.
I'm coming down. I mean, I'm almost done, but that's where it's still kind of messed up, so.
uh-oh.
Hello.
I was up at 4 this morning
No,
because I had to take my puppy to the vet. She had vertigo. Riley had vertigo,
No, jeepers.
which was actually the best thing it could have been because she was not doing well. But She's doing better now.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
and I have kitty problems too. It's not a good day for everybody.
What's going on with this?
I know. Let's talk a little. It's not a good day for our animals, I guess I should say. It's a good day for us in other ways. So let's talk a little bit. Well, I guess introduce yourself first.
Everybody knows who I am.
I know, but maybe some people don't. We have new people who hop
All
on
right,
Twitch
all
all
right.
the time.
I'm Michael Bacon. I'm the environment dude.
Yeah.
Or one of.
Oh yeah, I forgot to
And-
change your thing. I was gonna put environment dude.
And yeah, I guess it says lead environment, so
Yeah.
I guess that's what I am.
Yeah. So, what has your team been up to before we show off all the stuff that you got?
All this stuff. Actually, a lot of optimizations. Like we're doing that, polish, and stuff on APOC, and other stuff that I can't talk about.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. So.
Just
yeah.
like Mark was saying, some of the things we're working on we can't necessarily talk about. So it's
I know a lot of people want to see, MMO and Alpha 1 footage, but a lot of that we have to be very, and I said this before, but we have to be very careful when we show those things because they are indicative of, to a lot of people who don't follow the game, their first time perception of what our MMORPG is, they will look at that Alpha 1 and they will assume that's an end product. So as we're continuing, work and preparing for Alpha 1, a lot of that is kept very close to the chest until we feel it's in a place that is presentable to everyone, not just our most hardcore followers and who want to see this stuff, as soon as possible, but is something that can be presented to everyone and be indicative of where this project quality level is going to be, at launch.
yeah, and I think some of you saw at the end of the recent Dev Diaries, you were like, oh my gosh, these shots are gorgeous. Those shots are from in-game. Those are in-game shots. That is not, post-rendered video or anything like that. That is actually our amazing characters.
Yeah, I saw
and
somebody make a comment
lighting,
on one of the YouTube videos, or some, I can't remember where, they were like, this is a cinematic rendering.
Yeah, we've been trying to reply to everybody, letting them know.
Oh,
but
ray
yeah,
trace stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's some really crazy
Whoops.
stuff. Oh, sorry. Did I spoil that?
we're playing
It's
around with
okay.
some things and testing things out. So
Nobody heard it.
That's just making it.
yeah.
That's really not. That's nothing. Don't-
We're definitely
Let's keep that
testing
under the
things
rug.
out and trying to make our game look as gorgeous as possible. So I think that, like Steven said, our goal is to make sure that what we put out and what you guys see and what you guys experience is going to be amazing and gorgeous and really take MMOs to another level. So let's
Yeah.
talk a little
Well,
bit about
we're
what
on-
your team has been working on
Well,
and then go
I
into
thought we
these
just
things.
did.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you have
No,
more.
we're on three fronts, right?
Yeah.
So you got MMO, and then we got the Castle Siege stuff, and destructibility stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited about, of course.
Yeah.
And
But you can't show yet.
I can't show it
I keep
yet.
asking him every week. I'm like, how about now? How about now? Is it ready?
It's not there.
I
It's
know.
not there.
I know.
I mean,
it
it
looks
is there.
really cool. But
It is there. It's just not
yeah.
there for them.
Yeah.
So
I know. I get it.
we're getting there. And then, and then of course APOC. So, APOC is the next forward-facing thing
I
on
guess
the door.
Battle Royale part of it is the other thing. Because
Yeah.
Castle Siege is APOC as well.
Yeah.
I guess they all kind of go together.
But what I mean is that, it's the closest thing out kind of moving. So
Yeah.
a lot of polish optimization and that kind of thing. So a lot of the under the hood stuff, we're going through.
Things that you guys don't really see, but you'll notice in performance.
Yeah, shaders, models, and just cleaning everything up and getting it to run as efficiently as we can.
Yeah.
So-
So you might have seen if you watched our last live stream that they were working on some really cool beach waves and things of that sort. Really working on the environment because obviously you're an environment artist.
Yeah.
Trying to make it gorgeous, and I think we wanted to show you
Yeah, so I
the
guess we're doing
iteration.
part twos of things.
Yeah, part two. Yeah. I think
Well, I guess
we
the
wanna
cool
show
thing
the
about
progression.
about showing, are we seeing this now? The
Yeah,
cool
there
thing,
it is,
The cool
there
thing
it
about
is.
seeing this now is like you guys get to see, this is like a week of iteration.
Yeah, this is the latest, and this is, it's got like the sort of dual sort of waves coming in on top of each other now.
Yeah.
And
You can see them
it's
coming
quite a
over
bit
the
cleaned
rocks.
up, and the motion in it is quite a bit more accurate to surf waves and things. So
And the cool thing about working on, and I know we say this so many times, and probably those of you who do get this are annoyed at hearing this every time. But the cool thing about this level of polish and attention means that when the MMO is experienced by players, you're not seeing it in the bare bones stage. You're going to be seeing it with this level of polish and iteration because we were able to do so for the
even more.
APOC modes.
yeah, so
Even
we're
more polished
yeah,
than
so we're kind of
Right.
in the micro detail stuff
Yeah.
and kind of refining. That
And
kind of
refining
stuff.
the
And this is a
textures
shout out
too,
to
right?
Tay
Yeah.
actually, because she's been asking about this quite a bit on Discord and stuff.
There you go. See, we're watching, we're listening. And then the next thing you have for us is, this is a continuation of more of the racial environment art,
Yeah,
right?
if they put it in the right order, yes.
Okay. And then we also...
And they didn't.
Okay, they didn't.
All right, so this is Kalar.
Yeah.
This is Empyrean, right?
This is Empyrean?
Yeah, it says Imperial.
Oh, then this is the wrong video.
Uh-oh. Is it?
Yeah, it's totally the wrong video.
Ian did the wrong thing. We can blame Ian.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I guess we're rerunning.
This is the one I got.
Oh, is this the one?
We're doing
from,
reruns right now.
This is the one from last cycle.
The new one should be in the file.
Yeah, this is all from last time.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe check the folder again. I know Jeff can look in there. But yeah, so we do have some new ones, and then I think the next one coming up, I saw some coming in were from the back as well.
Oh,
Right? The ones that are coming in now.
coming
Towards
in
the end,
now.
yeah.
I just don't know you. Oh, Vec.
Yeah.
No, you can't talk about that.
Yeah, I can't talk. Why?
We're not putting those up now.
No, we're not putting those up now, but those are going to be the next ones that they're going to get to see.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
if you're happy with
Maybe
them.
there's a huge backlog of content we
Yeah,
haven't shown
I know.
them.
That's true. There's a lot of stuff.
And
that
maybe you'll leave Vec. I don't know. I
Come
mean,
on, they want to see them.
I noticed it was funny that they saw.
the Vec looks amazing though.
Yes, they do look
There's-
very good.
It's got that, like, I don't know, almost Egyptian style, but it also takes it into that scientific. I don't know. I love it. It looks so cool.
It's kind of Mayan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little more Mesoamerican.
Kalar is the one that starts with Kalar is old.
That's the one that was.
What do you mean by old?
Oh, so old.
You know what? Yep, that was on me.
I win. I was like, I swear,
right.
I put the right one in the folder. I promise. We did set
Alright.
everything up yesterday
There it
too,
is.
so there we go. Now we can see it. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, now walk
All right,
us
so that's
through.
that's the Kalar stuff we've been working on.
I noticed that
This is like village stage stuff though.
village states. Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Kalar Village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we kind of went into more
I
of this
noticed
kind of
that
direction.
in the video yesterday, and some people captured that. You know, in the bottom right, it showed the date. You know, some of those images were from 2017, and that's because we don't show everything as soon as they come out. We have a lot of stuff
Yeah.
Do they have dates
that
on it?
hasn't since. Yeah, because it was a screen capture of some of the animation work. I think that was.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So, you know, we have a lot of assets and production that's been had over the past couple of years.
And I think when it comes to the Dev Diary stuff
That
also,
was really
we're
cool.
trying to show like the work process, and so sometimes we go through our old footage to kind of grab like stuff that we're like, oh, this kind of shows off what they're talking about at this moment. So keep that in mind too. Dev Diaries are a little bit different because it is the development process.
so-
And not everyone has recorded every single element of. I have since I started now trying to get people to, and I can look at Chris from here, make them record the things that they create. He's done something for me. But I mean, I guess walk us through like what the design is for these, like architecturally, because they are different compared to the other races.
Yeah, I mean, this time this is got a very sort of English styling. I guess we were kind of where we wanted to push it more brick and mortar than what we had, like with the Alien, or was it the other human race that we used for?
Valen?
Yeah,
Balloon.
well, not Valen, the the parent race.
Of the humans?
Yeah.
The Aelin?
So these were kind of pushing more into a very medieval direction.
Yeah, they kind of have that very structural. They look like they're sturdy, right?
Yeah, we
Almost.
wanted very
Yeah.
just harder edge, very much heavier component materials. And then this is where we left off last time with the Nakua dwarves.
Are these
So these are like the bigger structures for them.
the Metropolis?
Ooh.
So guys, you know, the purpose of showing you guys these concepts is kind of to give you, a staged look at, as these assets come into production, you're going to be able to see and track them from concept to finished product, as you have with other structures that we've shown, year ago or year plus ago. Our pipeline is established, and creating these assets is a really fun task for the environment team, and it's cool when you have such linear and readable concepts to work from.
Yeah, and I think we showed off a little bit of like our housing tool and or our building tool and how our houses are created and things of that sort. And I think a lot of the concern that people had was like, oh, but what about like the more shapely buildings? And that is, that's what we're building, is all these little pieces that create that. And so you get these very interesting, intricate buildings, but they all fit the races that we have for each of the styles. And especially as you're building up from the wilderness to the village all the way up to a metropolis, we're going to need an extensive amount of buildings to make every single time that you build these up feel different.
Yeah, we're trying to go for like a real diverse style, per all the different races.
Right.
So.
One of the greatest challenges I think that the art teams, both from a character and environment standpoint, face is that we have such a goal in mind from a cultural diversity standpoint, with armors, with buildings, that we want these things to be very distinct from a cultural standpoint in the node and between the characters and races. And I don't know of any other MMORPG that has been created with such distinctiveness between the races before. It's a monumental task, and it's going to require a lot of production on our side, but we have a plan moving forward to accommodate that. So it's going to be really fun when you get in game and there is such a rich diversity.
And not only with art and the look of it, also the stories and the lore and the design behind how you experience them in the world with your quests and all of that, and your interactions with the NPCs and things of that sort. Those are going to really make it feel like they're different.
Yeah.
And of course, moving on to the next thing that you have some really cool stuff that you've been working on.
Anyway, well, these are like some of the polish shots that we were just kind of taking. Just like we had like some wonky doors.
Oh yeah, the new
before.
doors. They're really pretty.
So we, it's like a much more detailed, cooler door. That
the water
fits
looks
within
so pretty. I want a vacation here.
The great thing about these examples of environments is that you're looking at what is close to the visual quality we want to achieve in the open MMO, the open world of the MMORPG. These types of rolling landscapes with diverse biomes and structures and attention to detail. We want each place to kind of tell a story. What is happening in this area? What has happened here before? And it gives our art team, our environment team, an opportunity to kind of polish to the degree that we expect to see in the MMORPG. So like here, you're seeing these signs, these custom signs that you kind of added character to these places. Yeah, that's why I was just
trying to add a character past it.
Right.
Things. So it seemed like a lot of the structure stuff was a little static when it came to like, what is this thing? It's just kind of adding some
There's
focus.
Toast right there. That's where she lives. She lives there.
And the cool thing about these types of signs is that these are player interfacing as well. Like you own a business in a node. We're going to have an ability for you to customize the sign with some pre-selected images that can be determined.
Yeah.
Even guild logos that can be placed.
This is so pretty.
I love the art. The attention to art that's present in these stained glass representations are really cool. Who did this one?
This is so gorgeous.
No, this is Bacon. Bacon did that one. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love the stained glass. I was like, you have to put the stained glass in there. It's so pretty.
It's still work in progress.
I know. You're not. So this is the thing too. Is when we do these things every month, all of the artists, we want them to be happy with what we're sharing. And I know that even Bacon, you're like, oh, it's not finished yet, but it's gorgeous.
It's finished until it's shipped.
Right. Exactly. And even then.
Exactly.
Spoken like a true developer.
No, but we're having a lot of fun, and I can't wait till we hit with APOC and get that thing wrapped up. So, yay! Soon. Can I say that?
What?
You can say soon.
Can I say soon?
Oh, we can always say soon as long as there's a trademark.
APOC.
Yeah.
Soon, right?
Oh, soon trademark. Yeah.
Soon trademark. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Bacon, for your
Thank
time.
you.
We look forward to seeing what you guys got for us next
Thank you,
month.
Bacon.
Next up,
Thanks for the candy.
We
Yeah,
have
of
our
course.
character team. Yeah, thank you for the candy. Next up, we have our character team, and I don't know if Chris has been on a stream before.
I have not.
You've never been on a stream, so you're getting a
See you guys.
So this is Chris Atkins.
Hey, how are you guys?
Introduce yourself. Talk a little bit about what you do. Come a little closer this way.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. I won't bite.
No, I know. You're safe. Yeah, basically the lead character artist on the team. We have a great team. We actually have a new hire, Jincy, who we've just gotten last couple months, I think so.
Last month, yeah.
Yeah, and she's been killing it. And then, we have Keith and Carson still. They're our salty vets. Keith, our saltiest of vets, because he's the original hire.
He was the original hire.
Yeah, and he's from the East Coast like me.
We gotta get him on.
Chris,
We
I
gotta get him
just
on
want to tell you
screen.
something funny. I was reading chat and somebody
Yeah.
says, "Hot damn, hello, Chris."
Yeah, excellent, excellent. That's why I'm here. I'm really here just
All
to
right, Chris,
represent.
thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. I'm out.
I think Bacon was like, I think you just have to take your shirt off.
No.
Like, Bacon was
Whoa,
joking.
HR.
Bacon was saying it, not me.
Yeah,
He's
and-
joking with him.
Yeah, and I'm just here anyway because this is all Mark's show. I'm just showing off what he's done on the character art side now, so it's pretty easy for me. But our team's just been cranking along. It's been all MMO focused for a very long time now, anyway.
You guys have
On
been
our
pumping
side
out
of
wonderful
things,
creatures and mounts and things of that sort.
Yeah, it's been
character
great,
stuff.
and getting stuff off of the marketplace list and all of the packages and stuff. We're starting to really pump those characters and creatures through, and so it's been really nice. Keith's been helping a ton right now. He and I are mainly focused on armor pipeline updates and things. Since APOC, we kind of had a chest and
You've
leg
been seeing some armor
slot, and now we've already had the system in place, but we're just going through and revamping some stuff right now on the MMO drop side of things.
Yeah, so that you can have all the pieces separated instead of like.
Yeah, and they were set up like that before, but now it's just basically flushing it out a little more and getting the armor sets to come. Steven's actually been helping with the art direction, and so later on when I show some stuff, we'll get to see kind of a new, very basic set.
And if you want to talk a little bit about our pipeline for how we scale diversity between the different races and the same sets, because as our audience knows, if you have one set in game and that set has a set bonus, right, and it can be worn, one piece can be worn by any race, but it's going to look slightly different across all the races.
Yes.
Right, and
yes.
that's something that was really core to me when it came to creating diversity between the races, like we talked about on the environment side. From a character standpoint, we don't want one set to look exactly the same across all the races, right? We wanted to maintain a theme. We wanted to have the same kind of influences, but we wanted to be different.
Yeah, and I think a lot of your examples have been Lineage 2 and the way that they handle things. So that's sort of how we're approaching things now. And we've had a bunch of breakdowns about how this is going to work, but I think where we are at right now, we have a great understanding of what's going to be delivered. And like the next sets up are again Keith and I are mostly focused on all the racial stuff right now, while the other artists are focused on
I know people have been asking
creatures.
for that, so
That's all we've been cranking on, and they should start coming out pretty fast now as we've just finished kind of setting up the last little weird sticky things that we had going on with the characters. So it's starting to look really good. I'm really happy with the team. Everyone's very talented and dedicated, and again, like I said, having Jincy added on has been great because it's just always nice to have a new artist come in that really
solid production artist. Right?
Very solid production artist, understatement. But
all our
just
character artists.
everyone's great, and just the new, just seeing someone new come in though, and like how passionate they are, it's great for the whole team. It brings everybody instantly. We all get back to first day of school again. So it's been great.
Yeah, so let's show off some of the things.
Please.
You all have maybe seen the horse before, but they've been making whole new iterations on how this functions and looks and animates and textures and all.
And the Jincy again is the one that's been handling this update. Steven was great. We basically, I don't know, it's only been a week and a half or a couple weeks. Yeah, that one you're seeing now is our. Oh boy. There's quite a difference. I just wanted to put it in there because that horse is the kind of what the that horse is terrible, and so Jincy's the previous one, and so Jincy's basically gone in, and now you can see how dramatic the difference is just in proportion.
Muscles. And this is just to give you guys an idea, some of the previous horses you've seen in the game were because we needed a horse and we didn't have time to work on a horse.
Exactly. Yeah, right. We were just kind of ham-fisted a horse in there and got something going, and now it's actually been nice to take the time.
Here's been the opportunity to kind of flesh out a little bit in more detail to the quality that we want to see in the game of what a horse should look like in Ashes. Yep. And not only necessarily this horse, but this is actually going to be our kind of middle of the road starting point for variants of the horse that can both be be achieved through the animal husbandry system as well as through different cosmetics.
You and that husbandry system. Yes, yeah, it is.
You love the husbandry system.
I do.
Come on.
I'm slightly terrified, but I do love it.
And yeah,
if you wanna-
you can also see how the pieces are put together. So like we can have different tails or different mane, right?
Oh,
And-
totally. Yeah, this
coloration
again is
and
just our
texture.
base foundation for starting, and
Yes.
we've gotten good targets visually. Again, Steven's helped art direct this one, and I think it's coming out great. Obviously, Red Dead Redemption 2 had a great horse.
Yes, they did have great
So
horses.
we've sort of been looking at some of that stuff, and I think we're getting there. Again, like every other artist, this is a work in progress. It's still not done. We're still tuning.
Yeah.
So. But I'm happy with the direction and the results so
absolutely.
far. So.
And talk a little bit about, like from a character creation standpoint, right? If I step into a character creator, I can kind of deform and change things
Yes.
as I want. The same is true for you guys as character artists when working with these types of models with the horses, right? You can adjust these things as necessary. So having a more middle of the road kind of mesh to start is what we want to
Yes,
achieve.
this will allow us to step up to a sort of Clydesdale
Yeah,
war
with the-
horse, or
Yes.
step down to even like kind of a burro or a
Right,
mule, or like a
exactly.
thinner Arabian horse.
Yes.
So we started with kind of a thoroughbred, which I think was a smart decision again from our direction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
we
was
really
a
just wanted
good-
to show you what was previously. in
Yeah,
the
I just
MMO
like
that you
showing
all
the
saw,
horrible stuff.
And then now what
Yeah.
we're polishing. So we really are stepping it up and trying to make. It
Somebody
look
said,
gorgeous.
Tay said, is an undead horse a step up or down?
Ooh, I think that depends on your perspective. Because for me, I think it sounds badass.
Yeah, I think honestly, from an art perspective,
Right.
it's a step up because
Yeah.
it's a much more advanced
What if
art.
it's a
Like the
Clydesdale
skin,
undead
right?
horse?
Oh yeah,
The texture.
now we're
Now
off
we're
the chart.
really- yeah, exactly.
The
If there's
texture
a 10,
on
we're
it,
at 11.
right? Like the texture changes and like the way that it
Oh,
looks and the way that it should animate is going to be different.
Yeah, everything that'll take an animation pass, and again, I'm kind of here representing character and anime.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
yeah.
we do have some fun stuff to show.
Next thing that we have up here is the Tidebreaker, and this is a work in progress. That you're not going to see
This
the
is
final.
super
the final
early.
look.
Very early.
This is
very,
extremely
very
early, but it's fun for you to see it early because when
Later
you get
when
to
you
see
see it,
it
yeah.
finished, right? Margaret's going to show it in a way that you get to see each step.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we just wanted to show some work in progress stuff so you guys can kind of see how it comes along. And so yeah, these are very early on. We just basically started getting some first samples and a quick bake down just to kind of see proportion and everything like that. Yeah, Carson's been working on this, and Jincy's actually been helping him as well with the fur generation in X-Gen. So it's
Yeah,
been
this
a
is
fun
his
process.
like second creature that he's ever worked on.
Yeah,
right?
no, this is the second
This is
one.
Carson?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Carson.
Oh, you're going to see Carson's Courier.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is next up.
So as you guys know, because you've seen, I think, Carson's Dev Diary, right?
Yeah.
This looks so
Traditionally,
good.
he works on weapons and props,
Yep.
but he's been delving into the creature area. And I thought he did a great
It's so
job
good.
with his courier.
Yeah.
So
he-
the tongue's not like sticking straight. That's just because like the
That's
no,
for
no,
our
that's
bind
just
post for the
default
model.
yeah.
pose, yeah,
but it
yeah.
does have a tongue, and it is.
You'll see the tongue,
interesting.
yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
No, it's
The way
great.
it's going to animate is going to be
But
great.
this creature, as you guys know, I think this was one of our cosmetics,
Yep.
monthly cosmetics
2017,
from 20.
in
Was it
July or
2017?
something.
July. It was
Yeah.
back in July, right? We're starting to work through that backlog of production assets. But here you can see him animated, and this little guy will be
cute.
on a human. This little guy will be about just above the calf, and he's going to follow the player around. So when you're idle, he's going to do this little idle, kind of scratching himself. And then when you start to move or run, he's going to start rolling. If he has to catch up to you,
This
he's
is
going to roll.
early.
Yeah, the
I
roll
remind
is
you,
to
this
close.
early.
Right, the
Not-
close distance. So like if you do a teleport or a jump or some fast movement, he's going to roll up to you.
Yeah, he's got to get out of his regular
Right.
trot, which you'll actually see.
And
There
that's
it
his
is.
run
That's him.
cycle,
That's
yeah.
him running normally, kind of with
He's
you.
so precious.
And we have a walk as well. Yeah, he's a little
Yeah.
pigeon toed. I love this little guy.
Yeah.
Carson, he nailed it as far as the
and
concept
then
goes. too.
Minnie McPhee was the animator. For this.
Yeah, Alex McPhee, he cranked out
There's
all
his
these
little
animations.
swim.
Oh,
Yeah, so thanks to him.
He
and,
swims like Godzilla.
I'm just gonna keep squeeing.
He does. He's great.
So cute.
I feel like the reference anim for this was Godzilla.
It definitely
a tiny
Yeah.
little baby Godzilla.
A little baby Godzilla.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so great.
Yeah, Minnie McPhee's doing a great job as well.
But yeah, and you'll get to see, the iteration. Like when we have the Tidebreaker, we'll show you a little bit more. as we
Yeah,
get
yeah,
closer.
yeah.
So animations do take some time. I think we just did a Dev Diaries that goes over that. We did Dev Diaries earlier about character creation
Yes.
and character modeling. So watch those videos. They kind of give you a good example of like the process of creation. It's not, you know, you just come up with an idea and it's made the next day. It takes time and iterations on these
Yeah, a
things.
lot of iterations. And again, going back and forth with art direction, creative design, you know, everyone has their input on
Yeah.
kind of how it should
I
be,
just
right?
got 2 Discord messages that says, "Can I buy the Courier pet?"
Yes.
It was an old.
But you can't buy it
No,
anymore.
not anymore. It's limited time,
But-
so pay attention to those
But
packages.
you will probably see it in the world in other places. A lot of these are going to have different variants that will be in the world as
Yeah.
creatures. So don't you'll still see them.
Yeah, you'll get to see it.
You might be murdering them.
Yeah, you might not get to own it, but you'll get to see it
Wow, why
running
would you
around.
murder them?
Because they're attacking you.
Oh, that's sad.
Well, you're taking over their homeland.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, sadly, I think the pangolin that it's kind of based on a real world creature is like the most poached creature, so you're not wrong.
Yeah,
you're not
I'm
wrong.
saying. And of course, our next piece, we still have more,
Yes.
is an armor piece. I think, is this one that Keith's working
Yeah,
on?
this is Keith kind of working, coinciding with me on the body and basically getting a nice basic armor set in for us just to kind of, this would be a very low level, but we just wanted to get a very basic set back in that isn't in the same timeline that APOC was in, where, you know, that was an older timeline, the armor was different.
This is one of the Kalar sets, right?
Yes, this is Kalar. Yeah.
So, you know, the important thing to note here is you're seeing each of these individual pieces that'll be present on a character sheet or character paper doll, unique in the sense that you can remove and add, you know, as you would in other MMORPGs, and just understanding how the silhouette of the armor changes as you add or detach these pieces, right? This is the type of customization that players are going to have when they're mixing and matching or adding different pieces to the set, but there's 8 distinct visual pieces as part of this armor set, right? Is
Yeah,
there 8?
yeah,
Or 7? Do we tie the
I
belt?
think we do have 8. We do
Okay,
have 8.
good.
Yeah,
Just
and
depends
there's
if you want the
probably
one
more
full
even when we
one.
add in little inserts
Right, the
and things like
components and
that.
stuff
I
like
mean,
that.
it gets pretty crazy. But
Right.
yeah, our basic structure is 8.
Little medals. That you
Yeah,
get.
yeah, we have medallions and stuff. And yeah, so the next set that Keith's actually working on will be the elf version of that. And so yeah, you guys will get to see the Kalar and the Empyrean next to each other, and then we'll
dwarves.
keep dwarves and
Dwarves are
orcs.
next on the
Yes,
side.
those are coming.
My homies. Yeah, so I think, is there anything else you want to share with
I-
us? I know you have a lot of stuff that you guys are working on. And
Yeah,
you'll be
yeah.
showing us some more stuff next month.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and we'll try to get other artists on here. I'll
Yeah,
talk
we
some
will.
other people into coming on.
He's like, I'll get them.
Yeah, I'll get them. I'll get them. And we'll get you those videos, I promise.
I'm always asking. I'm like, more videos.
I
Give
know.
me them.
I know, they hate me. I'm like, can you guys record more stuff? Like, sure. Come on.
Well, I just want the recording of the process. I think it's really cool to share with our
It
community.
is.
I mean, they want to see the development process and like how we're creating things, and you know, I think this gives them a good idea of like how things are created and what we're working on. And we'll have other little bits, I think.
And we just have to be,
Yeah.
you guys know this because you're our diehard fans. You're showing up to the, to the stream, and you're in Discord, and you want to see more. And we are showing you, more, but we're making sure that as we show things, these can be digested not just by hardcore fans, but also by new viewers, first-time viewers who may not be accustomed to watching the development process of a game like an MMORPG that is Ashes of Creation. So just take that into consideration. It is a process, and we have to be conscientious and cognizant of that marketing aspect as we show development of the project.
Yeah, and I think Felbeek Macaw is a good example of that, or if you look at some of the other previous ones we've done, but I'm just using that one as an example because it's newest. It does show Jinxie's process of creating it, but it also tells like a little bit of the lore. It gives you more than just, a quick thing that we throw at you. It's a piece that you can digest. As well as showing
I
you.
like
Yeah.
how when I said that, everybody's just responding in chat and saying more.
One of our community
more.
members who makes a lot of gifs made like this gif of it was really funny. Like,
Oh,
they're just
yeah,
trying
was
to
that
feed-
yesterday? Yeah, that
they're
was
just trying to
great.
feed him
Somebody
more-
said,
more
"I am new.
content."
Give me more."
Give me more. Just dumping M&Ms into an open.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that. That was great.
Yeah, but we understand. We know you all want more. But we
Cam,
also-
definitely shout out to Cam. That was a great meme.
Yeah,
Or whatever it is
yeah,
called.
everyone enjoyed that.
But yeah, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Chris. And we're gonna answer a bunch of questions. We have I think 27. So we're gonna bring.
Thank you,
in-
Chris.
Yeah,
Excellent.
thank you so
Hey,
much.
thank you guys very
You have a
much.
whole bunch of new fans now.
I'll let him
Come
get
on,
back to the
figure
real.
it
There you go.
No.
Get in there.
Thank you.
Get in there. Thank you guys.
It's always funny too because like the other people who are representing each of their departments. Come on, little perfect.
sorry.
They always look at everyone else and they're like, I want to show something that cool too. Like they all are like wanting to show something cooler, so I think every month you're just gonna get something
More and more.
more and
over
more
the
because
top.
they really want to. They really want to.
Now we're likely going to go over time here
Yes.
because, and that's okay.
you wanna
I know
answer all
you guys are.
27,
We have
yeah.
27. Well,
Yeah.
we can try to speed round it.
Okay.
Speed rounding is always hard.
This is Steven saying he's gonna try to speed round it.
Well, yeah.
We've done
I
it
tried
before,
to
we can do
speed
it again.
round.
I've never
Yeah.
seen you.
No,
answer-
Jeff's long-winded. I'm really short, right?
Not true. But okay.
Just kidding, Jeff.
Okay, all right, let's get through them. We have, these are all from either the forums, we had some, actually a lot of you followed the directions and went to the forums, like mad props. So most of these are from the forums, and then we also have some from our Russian community as well, because our other community managers
And
also.
European, right?
They didn't submit any, but the Russian community team did. So we did. All of them are allowed to. So our question here is first from Hijiram, and they want to know, can you share with us some of the biomes that we will find in Ashes of Creation?
All the
All
biomes.
of them, yes.
All biomes are represented in some way, shape, or form on the Ashes of Creation map.
Plus some that you probably haven't
yes,
thought of before.
yes, some fantastical ones as
Some
well.
more fantastic.
Azrael wants to know, can we have basements in our freehold houses?
That's a good question. I don't think
I
the
don't
answer
think
is
so.
yes, because we can't. We
It's
can,
because
but we're
up
not
to a certain
planning
level
to
and-
change the
Yeah.
terrain under.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very likely
Because there is
that
going to be under, like a section under, right? Like
kind
kind of. You have that.
Not the freehold.
Yeah,
freeholds are going to be a little bit, maybe.
We'll see.
Likely not, but
to
maybe.
be decided.
Yes.
All right, Cymex wants to know, will there be an option to auto-hide your UI when not in combat? Not by pressing a keybind, but automatically. Interesting.
When not in combat.
That would be like a toggle? Is
Not
that,
in combat. It's not a
we don't have a plan for that.
I mean,
but
you can
it's-
just toggle
it's
with a
not
hotkey.
possible.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not possible. That's a good answer.
because I mean, we'll have the functionality of you.
We will
turning on
have
your UI.
we will have a UI hotkey.
Yeah,
Right?
sure, yeah.
But whether or not we'll have a state that detects you in game and then flags the UI hotkey, right? That's the
Yeah.
question.
That's the
And I don't
question,
think we
yeah.
have that planned right now.
And then Callis wants to know, do you, and I'm sorry if I butcher all of your names, do you think that only having the tank archetype able to main tank will lower the percentage of possible tanks for group/raid content?
I don't think so.
So no, I don't think so
have, like,
either.
8 tank
And to be clear,
options, right?
to be clear, it's not just the tank archetype that can tank. It's just likely that they'll be the most effective at tanking.
Yeah, and when you think about like types of tanks, right? Because I think that's the question, right? Because
Tanks, main tanks.
tanks are always a little bit hard to find, but when we're talking about like other games, they have multiple tank classes.
Right.
The multiple tank classes is built into the tank, right?
Yes.
So once you pick up your secondary, then you change your tank type.
Right.
So there will be plenty of tank types available.
It's also customized build as well. Like,
Right.
so, do you want to be an evasion tank? Do you want to be a damage mitigation tank? Do you want to be an aggro tank? I mean, there are multiple tank metas
Right.
that are present in different archetypes.
And that's why we've kind of built it this way. So, the base 8 classes are the archetypes, and then you kind of hybrid out with your augments.
And I see people say most efficient is only viable to most players. That is true, I believe, in the more hardcore gaming groups.
Yeah, which is actually
But
a smaller
if-
percentage.
Which is, in
Yeah.
my opinion, is actually a smaller percentage. But I think it's most viable is applicable to most difficult, in my opinion. So if you're doing a run that requires the most efficient
Which
build,
would be raids is what
which
they're
would be
talking
certain types of raids,
Yeah.
right? Then that's the case. But your gear can bridge the divide between most efficient as well sometimes.
And the content will
and
also
the content will
Or
also
skill
change.
sometimes, I'm just
Yes.
saying. Okay, next question is from Karthos wondering, can you share with us the number of crew required to sail each size ship, small, medium, and large? And I don't know if we can give that specific
don't
number
have
yet.
specific numbers for that,
Well,
but
we can give an
you general
idea,
numbers.
right?
Yeah.
Like, between small, medium, and large, you're looking at like 1 to 3 players on the small, you're looking at a group size on the medium, and you're looking at almost a raid size on the large.
That makes sense, yeah.
So, that's the idea. That's what we want to try to accommodate, is that, battles at sea will be epic, and they will have some supreme, rewards and or losses if the battle succeeds or fails. So in that sense, we want to make sure that the ships accommodate the numbers of players that we expect to be participating in those types of
Yep.
battles.
We want to see giant flotillas.
And I think this next question we kind of maybe spoiled a little earlier. Nerdified Geek is wondering, are you considering utilizing NVIDIA's ray tracing technology?
So we'll pass that question off into the future.
Okay.
And then Burn the Fern is asking, which I think is an adorable name, but poor Fern. Will event-triggered bosses like the dragon that brings eternal winter, for example, be open-world bosses?
Yes.
Will they have only one life or many lives? Meaning, will loot go to the first who kill it, or to whoever can kill it within a certain time frame?
So these are going to generally be events, and so there will be a sense of participation in these events. So in terms of rewards, right, we want to make sure that everybody who participates in a battle like that feels rewarded. So there will be some RNG involved in that, but yeah, I mean, it's those are generally going to be world bosses. They're going to generally be events, so there'll be quests associated with them. But yeah.
And specifically, I think they are open world, and also while everybody will have a reason to be there from a participation standpoint, the epic gear or legendary gear or the big rewards, yes, those will be finite and only certain groups.
Right.
Will be able to
It'll have to do with participation.
Yes.
All right, and Planeswalker, fellow MTG fan, can you share an example of a lesson that your team has learned from the mechanics of other games and game systems, and how that lesson was incorporated into the development process? I think a lot, right?
I think
Steven?
the biggest lesson, for me, and this is from my experience as a player of MMORPGs, is that rewards feel meaningless if there was not risk taken or time invested. I think the important part of what Consequence offers to a game is realizing that risk versus reward relationship, and it's important for players to feel that if they are achieving something, they're achieving it because it was some degree of difficulty with ratio to the reward. That's kind of a concept that I took.
Yeah, for me, it's you only get to launch your MMO once.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned very early in my career. And while it's possible to recover from a bad launch, it's really, really hard. So we really only get one chance to really make this awesome. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and especially with what we're trying to accomplish. It's not an easy
And also
thing.
just as a service to our players. I mean, we want to make sure that we are releasing something that lives up to the hype and speech that we're giving you at these streams, right? And that is representative of us and our desires as players. What's the experience we would want to have at the launch of our dream MMO? And that's the experience we want to give you guys as players. It's a process, and you guys are patient, and you are kind, and you are smart, but
when we hit that switch, right, we don't want to be like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah, please know. I would like to know everything. Also, we have a lot of questions, so let's.
Sorry, speed round.
Kaizo, who will command troops during a node siege/war? If anyone can, will the communication tools, like having a raid lead that can talk to different squads, be available to all citizens? So they want tools to be able to use.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there are administrative functions that will be
yeah.
present in the raid. We've discussed this in the past.
Yep.
Raid leader will be able to assign certain roles to party leaders within the raid, and then there will be certain voice over IP functions that they can, allow just the party leaders to speak, or they can give, on-screen commands. They can have designation of targets, stuff like that. A lot of different administrative functions.
Ilya wants to know, can we expect updates on Apocalypse's Castle Siege after its release? Both balance updates and extra content such as new classes, additions, etc.
Absolutely.
That is
the plan.
The purpose of the Castle Sieges is to derive those things. And you will see, as we do derive that from the design logs that we take from these, instanced Castle Sieges that will be present at APOC, we will implement those changes in the designs for the MMORPG, and you will see them reflected both in the MMORPG as well as, not all of them necessarily, but in the APOC
Yeah, it'll
Sieges
depend
as well.
on, because open world is different
Right.
than, yeah.
Yep.
And then R22 wants to know, will you consider adding in-game community voting for updates and changes similar to how RuneScape does? That's interesting.
Well, we already have an in-game voting feature that takes place for one of the mayoral systems in the scientific node. I imagine that type of code logic will be utilized elsewhere, that we might find places for in certain systems. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to, that'll be a long answer.
Right.
So I'll let Steven stand.
Yeah, we
Yes.
can have little,
It depends on what it is,
Yeah.
basically.
Celeron wants to know, in the last live stream, you mentioned using the Agile Scrum project management method for development. Would you mind telling us the tentative topics for your next few sprints? That's a long. We'd be here for a really long time.
Just to give you an idea, each department's sprint kickoff, can take upwards of an hour to an hour and a half, and we have about five specific department kickoffs. So that would be about 6 or 7 hours worth of what those sprints tasks are.
Yeah.
But it's basically.
But our production team does a lot of work, and props to our production team for helping to manage those schedules and tasks and prioritizing them into different priority levels and backlogs. They do a lot of hard work. Brian, Peter, Jonathan,
those guys
Midori,
are awesome.
They are great.
And basically, to give you an idea of how that works in a general form, because we're not going to be able to go into detail, is we have each person that's on a team, and that each of those people have a certain amount of work hours that they can work. We have tasks that each take different amounts of time, and then we slot those into the different people who can complete those tasks, and also figuring out timeline-wise when we need those accomplished. So some of the things may need to be accomplished at a different date than others, and so we have to prioritize those and that kind of thing. And maybe somebody has to overlap or help one another out, and so that's kind of basically how it works in a very small gist. Our next question here is from Tomorrow. Yeah, and they want to know, what are the chances there will be a mechanic that allows us to choose our stance or how we hold a weapon, like having a spear in one hand versus two hands?
Very high chance. One-handed spear versus two-handed spear is probably not going to be a thing, but we will have one-handed spears and two-handed spears.
So I personally am not a fan of stances, but design has made a very good argument to incorporate certain stances in the game. So we'll see how that goes.
And then we have Elf, which, geez, you got the word elf? Nice. Will the Vec be able to receive prophecy? When they stargaze, will something happen? Will they be able to do astrology?
So probably not in the way that you're thinking. They will have class-based abilities that are associated with their class for being a Vec, and some of those will refer to those kinds of ideas. It's not that they are the only ones who can do astrology, and there will be references to what's happening in the stars that everybody can kind of participate in. So take a look for that.
Yeah. And then Sunfrog, we love your content, Sunfrog. Keep making it. How will we capture animals? Will it be a menu that pops up and says, fight, capture, run? Or will there be traps, like leg traps, snares, nets, and tiger pits that we put out? Oh my goodness.
It'll be a Pokeball.
That's like...
No, your Pokemon.
That's kind of a cruel way to capture your animals.
Well, not if the trap is, accommodating, but if it's like a little house for the animal.
Oh, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
It's a nice trap.
A nice trap.
It's a humane trap.
Humane trap.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you're going to use it later, right? You don't want to
Exactly,
name the
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
he said leg traps, snares,
Well,
nets.
like
Those all
it's a
sound
massaging
not
hand
nice.
that comes out and grabs the leg and gives him a little massage.
It's just petting them.
Yeah, it's just a petting.
Good boy. Good boy.
Yeah, it's a good boy. And then they stay for the massage, and you come and pick them up.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. What's the answer to that? How will we capture pets?
To be decided. You will
To
see.
be-
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably through an ability.
Shocklin
Yes.
wants to know, could we get an example or two on how bard music will work? Will they perform music with instruments, or will they act more like a traditional spellcaster?
So we've answered this in the past. Bards are going to have a wide range of kind of application, both wordsmithing, acting, and musical aspects. And I think kind of how we said tanks will have different trajectories in how they tank, evasion, damage mitigation, aggro. Bards will also kind of have a route that they can customize and choose as well.
Yeah.
Illusfet wants to know, in the pre-alpha promo videos, you showcased a rogue using parkour I don't know why I said it that way, to enter and navigate a city. Can you give us an update or more details on the state of this parkour system?
What?
Parkour. Parkour.
What about parkour?
So we
Parkour?
are still kind
From
of
the
doing a
rogue
lot
video
of
we did.
I
exploratory prototyping on that kind of stuff. Trying to make parkour work in a big giant open world like this requires a solution that is universal, and we're not there yet. So
I mean, there's definitely places where along certain quests and or specific locations where there will be interaction that's possible with objects that give some parkour kind of animation availability. Whether or not parkour will be prevalent across the open world, as Jeff said, it has to be a universal application, and we are not at that point yet. So we'll update you guys if that changes. But right now, I would say the outlook on it being universally across the open world is a little grim.
Okay. And then Horrendous wants to know, will we have an adjustable UI and adjustable mission window in Alpha 1 for us older gamers that can't read tiny print? So they want like scaling.
We should have UI text scaling, I believe, for Alpha 1. I'm not totally positive.
I know it's in the
though.
options.
It's we should have it. But yes.
Okay. It will come. Whether
It will
it's
definitely be there in the last
yeah.
product.
Democulus wants to know, can you share a bit more about trophies? Will we be able to turn loot parts of bosses into trophies or furniture?
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that is a very cool aspect. It's a great way for you to show off, your achievements and accomplishments on your property and in your homes, and it's something that we want to have available.
Yep.
And Azalato wants to know, the AOC wiki says banking between characters is being discussed. Is there any new information on this topic?
Banking between characters. So, banking is something in a game like ours where economy matters and regionality is important from a gatherable and processed standpoint. That you will not be able to bank items that are relevant in those scenarios across characters, but it's likely possible that you'll be able to bank items such as like furniture or
What if
completed
I'm married to
items.
somebody? Can I share a bank account with them?
I
don't know, I'm getting
Yeah,
very
no, you're going to have settings where
Yeah.
you can allow access
Like
to different
permissions.
players' permissions,
Yeah.
right? For personal storage devices that can be found on freeholds. Or in your homes, but again, the important thing is between characters is a little difficult for the gatherables and/or processed goods.
Okay. McStackerson, I like that name. Can you elaborate on how combat pets will work? You mentioned that they will be a horizontal choice. Do you equip them like a weapon piece of gear, or do they limit your abilities in some way?
What was this?
This is talking about combat pets.
Combat
Okay.
pets, yeah.
Can you elaborate on how pets will work?
They-
Okay. So one thing we don't want to do with combat pets is make it a vertical progression. We don't want combat pets to be the most
Necessary.
effective, necessary way from a damage standpoint. So part of the design language for that is if you have a combat pet present, it will incorporate some of your own power in a way that keeps the power progression horizontal.
Yeah, so it'll feel more, it will participate in combat. It will allow you different options
Yes,
sometimes.
exactly.
But it won't necessarily increase your power, and it will, you'd be sacrificing something for that.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and then Quantum Shadow wants to know, you said that a guild that totally chooses size over skill augments will likely have a max size of about 300 members. What will be the max number of members for a guild that chooses to totally go after the skill augments?
It's going to be between 30 and 50, I would say. If you maxed out your skill augment and chose no expansion option for that guild, it would be, I would say, between 30 and 50. We'll fine-tune that a little bit more
Yeah,
as we
those
get into
numbers are
alphas.
very, it'll kind of really depend on a lot
Yeah.
of other things, but yeah.
12th Flare wants to know, for the lore articles we've been reading about the shop items like the Felbeak Macaw, will we be able to encounter these creatures somewhere in the wilds in game? If not, will we see more articles about non-shop creatures in the future? And I already answered that one.
Yeah.
They'll be in the world for sure. And probably different variants of them. Barros wants to know, mayors are only in power for a short period, 1 month. But you also mentioned that if the population of a city is not happy with the choices, the mayor is making that there will be a way for them to remove them early. Can you please elaborate / explain on how that might look for
I don't
each
think
We've
type?
talked about the possibility
Of
of
a
doing
recall?
that, but we are currently not planning to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
It is it is something that's always in the back of our heads, right? Because we don't want to have a node necessarily have no counterplay to a bad mayor,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's also kind of the consequence of electing a bad mayor.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sort of the fallout of that is an interesting thing for us.
Right.
So it's something that you'll likely not see at launch.
The only way to remove a bad mayor as we have now is by destroying the node.
You work with your enemies,
Right.
or
Yes.
your enemies to make a deal.
So yeah, we like Jeff said, we want consequences to matter, and if that person got elected, then you need to work within the means of the mechanics to get them unelected. Right.
Okay, and then Violetta wants to know, how many guilds will there be in one node? Does it depend on node level?
So it depends on. Are you talking about patron guilds?
It doesn't say.
It's got to be patron guilds.
Okay,
so
yeah,
any
because-
number of
yeah.
guilds can be in
Exactly,
a node,
yeah.
right? But then is the idea of patron guilds,
And that grows with size.
right? And
right?
I think it's like
It's 3 is going to be max at the Metropolis
Oh, that's
level.
handy to know.
You're going to have 1 starting at the town, 2 at the city, and then 3 at the Metropolis. None at the village.
And they're not necessary, but they are likely to be filled.
That's new.
Yes,
new
they are
that's
likely.
new information for me. I learned something
We
new
put that
today.
out there, I think.
I know, but I don't.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
pick up on that. Constantine wants to know: will there be combos in your combat
Yes.
system? That's an easy
Yes,
one.
there are
And
combos.
Natalie wants to know how diverse and, more importantly, how mandatory will end game content be? How many hours should I play daily in order to keep my character up to date?
Yikes, that's hard
That's
to
a
answer.
That's a
super
lot, yeah.
subjective question.
Yeah.
So
Depends on what you wanna
It depends
do.
on what up to date means. It depends on what mandatory means. It
Yeah.
depends on what your goals are, I guess. If your goal is to have best in slot gear, then you're probably going to want to be experiencing a lot of end game content because that's going to be where the legendary items become available and stuff like that. If you're going to want to be a crafter and sit in the city and take advantage of the economy, you might not need to participate in much because you're going
you'll
to
need
have
friends.
connections
You're still gonna
and
want to have
politics.
friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're going to be
And
logged
purchasing,
in to,
yes.
to like leverage those
Right,
things, right?
absolutely,
So,
yeah.
so it really depends on what your goals as a player are. There's going to be plenty of stuff for people to do for a very long time. If you log in an hour a day, you're going to have plenty of stuff to do. If you
Right.
want to log in, 16 hours in a day, you're going to have plenty of stuff to do. So,
And again, endgame isn't something we really subscribe to from a concept standpoint.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Because we're-
options and avenues and progression that players can have in many different areas of the game.
and with the nodes,
and-
everything's going to be
and-
changing
exactly,
all the time.
and all of them are applicable. All of them.
And we keep wanting to.
get-
We're
yeah.
going to continually add more too with
Right.
updates.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You won't get to that point, hopefully.
Yeah.
With with the
Yeah.
node system itself, you'll never get to that.
Yeah, because it's a persistent ebb and
Yep.
flow,
That's an
and
emphatic statement.
you make
It is. It's a true statement.
I love it.
yeah you make the content in that constraint, but we make the content as far as like
Being a hybrid sandbox theme park, it allows us to offer this content engine that just will keep going as long as there are players on the server.
Yes. Feed the engine.
well, and the creatures themselves will also
Yep.
interact too. So even if players don't interact with certain areas, those creatures will.
See, so we got through all of the questions.
We did, yay.
Unbelievable.
And so, of course, thank you all for bearing with us for a little bit longer on the stream. I think you probably don't mind having extra content, but we hope that you enjoyed it. This is our second time using this format. Do let us know if you enjoy it down in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, we will have this up on YouTube, of course, right after this, as soon as it's done processing. So you can follow us on all of the places at Ashes of Creation. Super duper easy. We let you guys always know when things are coming out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of the things of that sort. So stay tuned with us. And of course, if you go to our ashesofcreation.com/news page, we always keep you updated on all of the things. We have quite a few things that are coming along the lines. We have a creative director's letter that's coming out that will have some dates that you'll be interested in. Divine Node article, as well as our new monthly costume rotation and quite a few other content pieces. So stay tuned and we'll see you all next month for another update.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good weekend.